Rama Jaya Guru Deva, 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 Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवृगचार्य अष्टोट श्रीनाथ ऐसी भक्तिविनोद स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवृगचार्य अष्टोट श्रीनाथ भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री लालिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप शिष्यनाथन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दस्स रघुनाथ सद्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड रघुन गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगामय जमुनामय की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glories to Guru Shri Gauranga. Atmanivedana Swami, जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। Which verse is this?
Verse 1.
Okay. So we are beginning a new chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 23, entitled Life's Ultimate Goal, Love of Godhead. So Prabhupada has given a little summary of the chapter, so we'll read that. And then we will try to speak something about love of Godhead. Ultimately, that is our goal. The following summary of the 23rd chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrit Pravaha Bhashya. In this chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes the symptoms of emotion and love and the awakening of one's original loving relationship with the Lord, as well as the characteristics of a devotee who has actually attained that stage. He then describes the gradual increase of love of God up to the point of Mahabhav. He then describes the 5 divisions of attraction and how they continue. He also describes the mellows derived from conjugal love, which the supreme emotion. Conjugal love is divided into the two two categories, Swakriya and Prakriya. Swakriya refers to loving affairs between husband and wife. Prakriya refers to loving affairs between two lovers. There are a number of descriptions in this connection. There is also a description of the 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna and 25 transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then describes those candidates who are eligible to taste the mellows of devotional service, their fundamental nature and their varieties are also described. The Lord also informs Sanatana Goswami about all the confidential paraphernalia of devotional service. He gives the description of Golok Vrindavan, where the Lord is engaged in his eternal pastimes described in the Harivansa. There is also an opposing description and a favorable description of Kesa Avatara. All these instructions are mentioned herein. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Sanatana Goswami, placing his hand on his head. Thus, Sanatana received the power to describe the subjects and in the books of Hari Bhakti Vilas. So this is a very, very intimate chapter we are learning. Of course, Srila Prabhupada said that in our spiritual journey, we first start with the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is like the primary school education. Then we advance from there to Srimad Bhagavatam. And after we have understood the Srimad Bhagavatam, then we should try to relish the transcendental descriptions given by Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And these are so very, very high esoteric mellows, which sometimes, due to our neophyte level, we cannot understand them. So we should be very careful how we interpret these descriptions given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the intimate pastimes of Supreme Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Of course, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he saw compassion towards all the living entities, and he gave us Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita so that we can at least get a glimpse of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. And through that, we develop attraction and attachment for the Lord, so that we can increase our attraction and loving relationship with the Lord. Of course, Srila Prabhupada many times mentions that the living entity, when he comes to the material world, he forgets his original constitutional position. Prabhupada constantly reminds us through his lectures and his teachings, Jivere Swarupa Hoy, Krishna Nityaras. Eternally we are servants of Krishna, and therefore we are in a position to serve Krishna in very intimate ways. But unfortunately, we have forgotten, and therefore we are living in the ways of the world, which is a world of illusion, and try to enjoy everything in the basis of sense gratification, as we described yesterday from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is based on the five senses, five sense organs. We try to kind of relate this material world with that. So it's very important that we understand this concept, that we do not become sahajas and be pretenders that we are we have developed love of Krishna. As is mentioned in the purport, that gradually to reveal who is qualified to develop love of Godhead, and what are the symptoms of one who qualify, who has got the qualities of the transcendental devotional ecstasy. So we have to be very careful that we do not kind of start imitating these things, otherwise it will be detrimental to our spiritual life. So the first verse in this chapter is describing the mercy of the Lord. Chirad Adatma Nija Gupta Vitama Swa Prema Namamrita Ati Udhara Parama Yo Vitara Gora Krishna Janavyas Tam Aham Prapadye Chidatam Nija Gupta Vitam Swaprema Namamrita Ati Udhara Paramarama Yo Vitara Gaura Krishna Janavyastam Aham Prapade. So, anyone to attempt?
Chiradadattam Nidra Gupta Vitam
Chiratam Nija Gupta Vitam
Svaprema Namamritam Ajudara
Swaprema Namrita Ati Udhara
Apamaram Yo Vitatara Gaura
Pamaram Yo Vitara Gaura
Krishna Janavyastam Aham Prapadye
Krishna Janavyastam Aham Prapadye. Ladies, you want to try?
Chiradadattam Nijagupta Vitam
Chiradadattam
Nija Gupta
Vitam
Swaprema Namamritamati Udaraha
Swaprema Namrita Ati Udhara
Apamaram Yo Vitatara Gaura
Apamaram Yo Vitara Gaura
Krishna Janebhyastamaham Prapadye
Krishna Janavyastam Aham Prapadye. Chirat, for a long time. Adatam, not given. Nija Gupta Vitam, his own personal confidential poetry,
His own
property.
confidential property
Swaprema, of love for him.
of love for him
Nama, of the holy name.
of the holy name
Amrita, the ambrosia.
the ambrosia
Ati Udhara,
Adhyudara
most munificent.
most magnificent
Apamaram, even down to the lowest of men.
even down to the lowest of men
Yeah, one who
one who
Vitara distributes. Gaura, Sri Gaura Sundar.
Shri Gaurasundar
Krishna, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna himself.
Lord Krishna himself
Janabhya, to the people in general.
to the people in general
Tam, to him. Aham, I. Prapadye, offer obeisances. The most beneficent Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Gaura Krishna, distributed to everyone, even the lowest of men, his own confidential treasury in the form of the nectar of love of himself and the holy name. This was never given to the people at any time before. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So there is no purport, so I will just read the next 2-3 verses and then we will try to speak something about this subject matter. So text 2 is again, we should learn from this that when Krishna Discovery Goswami was writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would always start the chapter with praying respects to the Supreme Lord in a different prayers. So of course this first prayer is showing the greatness of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he distributed love of Godhead to even the most fallen. And he's saying, to such a personality, I therefore offer my respectful obeisances. The next one is generally we chant this prayer just before reciting the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai Jai Gaura Chandra Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this is again some prayers before he actually gets into the essence of describing the transcendental nature of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So in this next verse, text 2, all glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Now hear, O Sanatan, about the results of devotional service, which is love of Godhead, life's ultimate goal. One who hears these descriptions will be enlightened in the transcendental mellows of devotional service. When affection for Krishna becomes deeper, one attains love of Godhead in devotional service. Such a position is called Satya Bhava, permanent enjoyment in the mellows of devotional service to Krishna. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like the sun ray of love of Krishna. At such time, the devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tests, and one is often situated in bhava, emotions. So this verse which we just read now is a description from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Prabhupada is just putting that as his purport. Next one is bhava, emotion, has two different symptoms, constitutional and marginal. Now, my dear Sanatan, listen to the symptoms of love. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Sudha Swata Vishastama means situated on the transcendental platform of pure goodness. In this way, the soul is purified of all the material contamination, and in this position is called Swarupa Lakshana, the constitutional symptom of bhava, emotion. By various tests, one's heart is softened and is therefore awakening to one's loving propensity to render spontaneous service to the Lord. This is called Tasta Lakshana, or the marginal symptoms of bhava. Om Jnana Trimandandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshusumritam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving Sanatana Goswami the highest knowledge and preparing Sanatana Goswami for his trip to Vrindavan. When Sanatana Goswami was instructed to go to Vrindavan, the purpose was to reveal the transcendental nature to the living entities. So Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami and other 6 Goswamis, they were in Vrindavan writing so many transcendental literatures. And basically the literature they were writing was their ecstasies. Now sometimes we cannot understand their ecstasies. So therefore most of the books were buried in the ground, because it was not meant for neophyte persons. They cannot understand these things. Just like even here in the beginning section of the introduction, Prabhupada is mentioning that the transcendental conjugal loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and then there is the next level is the loving exchange of 2 lovers. Now our concept of understanding this in the material world, as mentioned, that the conjugal loving pastime is between husband and wife. Now what we experience in the material world as husband and wife relationship is on a mundane level. It's not something which Krishna is enjoying with his many wives. Of course we have understanding that in Vrindavan pastimes, Krishna had many gopis and gopas. And then later on, when he went to Dwarka, he married 16,108 wives. Now, it is not a small feat to marry so many wives. Even in the material world we see, if someone is married to us 1 wife, and it is very difficult to satisfy one person, or to speak of 16,108. Now, on the other hand, when we read the pastimes of Krishna, although so many pastimes are not very intimately given, in Krishna book. Mostly Krishna book we are seeing the pastimes which this month we are relishing of Mother Yashoda and Damodar and the gopis where Krishna is going to their homes and stealing butter and feeding to the cowherd boys and the monkeys and upsetting the gopis and so forth. And then we hear many pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan killing many demons. Then there's some pastimes where there is a description of Krishna's Rasa Leela dance in the groves of Nidivan or different forests and in Vrindavan dotted around the 84 square kilometers. But if you look at the pastimes of Krishna, he was not having his rasa dance when he was a young baby. He was just playing in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj's courtyard. And then later on, when Kansa was sending different demons to kill Krishna, so then, of course, Krishna cannot be killed by anyone. So Krishna was killing all these different demons which came, in the form of a chariot or a bullock cart. The next was, Putana came in a guise of a beautiful young lady to entice Krishna to suck her breast and then feed poison. Of course, that was not successful. Then Nanda Maharaj thought that this place is not very suitable for my child. So he moved from Gokul to Nandagram. It is, if you have been to Nandagram now, it's right on top of the hill where it's protected from all sides. So if any demons would come, they would spot him a mile away to protect Krishna. But of course, that was Nanda Maharaj's transcendental relationship with his son. They was thinking, here is my son, I'll protect. But actually, who is the protector? The supreme protector is Krishna. Krishna is the one who protects everyone. But because he enjoys his interaction with the different devotees, so he gives them an opportunity to think that they are doing this service of protecting him. So, of course, Nanda Maharaj was relishing that service to Krishna by protecting him and nurturing and taking care of him. Then later on, when Krishna grew a little older, then he was given a charge to take the cows, or rather the calves, for grazing. And later on, when he grew a little older, then he would take all the calves and the cows to Govardhan and different places for grazing them. And during that time, at dead of night, on a full moon, he would come out into these different Sevakunj or Nidhivan or Madhuvan, all these different forests, and he would have wonderful interaction of dancing with the gopis. Now, what was his age that time? He was only 8-year-old. Now, we know in our own experience that although now Kali Yuga is so progressing that even young children are contaminated by the sense enjoyment of the material world, so much so that it is corrupting their little minds. But generally we have in our experience that when the child is young, they are very innocent. They don't know the ways of the world. If you put a 5-6-year-old young boys and girls in a room, they will be quite happily playing with each other. They will not be conscious that here is a boy, here is a girl. They just, here is, we are friends. And they will just enjoy playing with them. And the playing is very innocent playing. But then at the same time, when you come to adolescence, and then you put young teenagers in a room full of young men and women, their interaction is completely different, very corrupt. It is not one of a desirable situation, unless, of course, by the supreme arrangement that we have in all societies, not just Vaishnava society, but all over the world. There is a system that at certain age, when the young men and women become of marriageable age, then they are married with each other, and then you have relationship with that partner only, not have illicit affairs everywhere. Although nowadays it's going on all throughout the world, it is the influence of Kali Yuga. But the point I want to make here is that Krishna, when he was having his rasa dance, he was completely innocent. Sometimes when we read the words like conjugal pastimes. We think that it is some kind of illicit connection with Krishna and the gopis. But there is nothing of the nature. It is very pure, innocent love. Unfortunately, in this material world, when we talk about love, we do not have a very clear understanding of what love is. What really we think it's love is basically lust. Lust is desire to gratify the senses and the body, the boy for the woman and the woman for the man rather. And these kind of things we think is love, but it's not love, it is just lust. Real love is that when you have a real affection for the person, and then that affection turns into the mood of service. That is why when we describe our devotion to the Supreme Lord, it is based on service, that you serve the Lord. Just like, in our daily practices, Prabhupada has introduced to us to this transcendental worship of the deities. And the Supreme Lord has manifested himself in the beautiful deity form. And then we personally serve the Supreme Lord. Those who are pujaris, they would know the first thing in the morning after Mangalati, the curtains close, then we undress the deities, we bathe them, and then we decorate them, and then deity greeting takes place. Meanwhile, there are other devotees who are making wonderful preparations for offering to the Lord, and all these are all intimate service of the Lord. But there is nothing illicit about it. It is just pure service for pleasure of the Lord. So when we develop the mood of service and understand, which is explained here in this verse as the goal, is to achieve pure service to the Lord in devotion. And that devotion will manifest in our hearts as we are practicing the process of bhakti. And here, of course, to come to that level, we have to be qualified. And what is the basic principle to become qualified to become a devotee of Krishna? First and foremost, we have to take shelter of Krishna's holy name. And here, of course, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing, or rather Krishna's Kaviraj is describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the most merciful person who is very freely giving even to the low-born who are not even qualified to receive Nam Amrita or the nectar of the holy name. So therefore, we are all qualified to receive this holy name. And Prabhupada, out of his compassion, he came out to the world and he was giving the holy name to everyone. And he said, you please chant this Hare Krishna mantra. Now, to chant the holy name of the Lord, you have to have a pure heart. Otherwise, you cannot chant the holy name. But then, if you don't have a pure heart, you cannot chant, then you will never chant the holy name. Because, to get a pure heart is very, very difficult. So, of course, here is also mentioned that when we take shelter of the holy name, the heart becomes softened. The hard heart becomes softened. And when the heart becomes softened, now this is not in a literal sense becomes soft like sponge, but it's softened means that it is filled with compassion for everyone. And when you have that compassion for everyone, then you can say that you're beginning to have the softening of the heart. And the chanting of the holy name is actually now taking its impact on the heart. So we may be chanting for 1 year, 10 years, 50 years, but if the softening of the heart doesn't take place, then literally speaking, our chanting is not very effective. Therefore, we are recommended in Nectar Devotion and also citing from the Padma Purana that when we are chanting the holy name of the Lord, we have to be very mindful of the 10 offenses against the holy name. Because when we avoid all these 10 offenses, then the power potency of the holy name will have impact on the heart, and then the heart will become softened. And when the heart becomes softened, then compassion begins to come out of the heart. And then when compassion comes, then the first and foremost is that you develop compassion for the living entities around you. And when you have sufficient type of compassion for the living entities around you, then you can actually approach the Supreme Lord. Because otherwise it's not easy to approach the Supreme Lord. Of course, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he introduced all these things to us of different aspects of devotional service, worshipping the deities, chanting the holy names, preaching. All these things are introduced by Prabhupada to us, even though we are not qualified. But by the mercy of the pure devotee, we become qualified. At the same time, as the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving very profusely, without discrimination, even to the most unqualified. So, he is described as Patitta Pavana, the most merciful incarnation of the Lord, who comes to save the most fallen. Patit means most fallen. So we are actually the most fallen. But sometimes we get under this illusion, think, I am a devotee. I have been around so long time now. I am a senior devotee. And when you are in that mindset, thinking that I am very, very advanced, I am very senior devotee, I have been around for so long time, therefore I have got a tag up here, a senior devotee category, and therefore you begin to think, I have to have respect from everyone. Everyone should show respect to me. Because I am very senior, I am advanced. But that is a false conception. The more you become advanced, the more you think, I am insignificant. Even the great personalities we read about their traditional biographies of the 6 Goswamis, for example. You see, the more advanced they are, the more humble they become. And they actually realize that they are actually nothing but a tiny infinitesimal little spark of the Lord. Insignificant spark of the Lord. Nothing significant about it. Now we also know these symptoms from our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. He is our role model. He is teaching by his own example. Prabhupada is such an advanced, elevated, pure devotee of the Lord that he carries the Lord in his heart. And wherever he puts his feet in the ground, that ground becomes worshipable. Why? Because he is carrying the Lord in his heart. Then Prabhupada is not going around saying, just see, I am creating places of pilgrimage wherever I go. No, Prabhupada is saying that I am the most fallen, I am the most insignificant. And sometimes, when Prabhupada is giving class, he folds his hands together and says, I am offering my respectful obeisances to all the assembled devotees. Now, here is a Supreme Acharya. He is offering his obeisances to the audience. And he is not discriminating whether they are initiated, uninitiated, saying all the Vaishnavas were gathered. And many times, many people who would come to Prabhupada's lectures, they are not all well versed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. There are some new people who have either received a leaflet in the street, or they have met a devotee, and devotee says, oh, please come, we are having very nice discourse on spirituality. So they would come out of curiosity. So they have no understanding of what they're going to expect. Only they think that, okay, there's something spiritual happening here. So out of curiosity they would come. But they do not know that they should show reverence and respect to a pure devotee of the Lord. So they would just treat him as an ordinary person. But Prabhupada, he would not sit there and say, well, why you are doing this? Don't you know who I am? Oh, he would show great humility. So we see that from all these different aspects of great saintly persons, that the more advanced they are, the more humble they become. And the more humble become, then they naturally understand their actual position, which is described by Prabhupada many times, Jivere Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das, that we are eternally servants of Krishna. And further, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, Gopi Brata Kamalam, Dasanu Dasanu Das. That we are servant of the servant of Anu servant. Means even the smallest of the smallest servant. So our position, if you look at the pyramid, it's got a pinnacle point on the top, that is the highest. Then if you go down, it stretches. And at the bottom, it is the widest. And that is where the most insignificant position is in the pyramid. So that is a position of a devotee. That when we get this mercy of the Lord and practice bhakti, then our position should be getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And the more lower and lower you are, then you actually recognize yourself as the insignificant servant of Krishna and his devotees. So of course, sometimes we are very proud that I'm serving Krishna, but I'm not serving his devotees. So when you don't serve the devotees of Krishna, there is no question of Krishna accepting your service. You know, you may be making wonderful food preparations and say, I'm cooking, I'm such an expert person, I know the best recipes, I'll cook very nice for Krishna. And you may make wonderful preparations and offering, and then place it in front of Krishna and then offer to the Supreme Lord. And Krishna will just look and say, no, I'm not having nothing, none of this. Because he will only accept when you have developed that proper mood of service. And first we serve the devotees. When we serve the devotees, then Krishna says, now you have recognized my devotees. You are qualified to come and serve me. Because without serving the devotees of Krishna, we cannot serve the Supreme Lord. So of course in our Krishna conscious movement, we have this whole concept of how to develop loving relationship with the devotees and serving the devotees. I remember when I first joined the ashram, way back in 1979, I moved into the ashram, and finally I took that step that said, okay, I'm not going to waste my time in the material world. I'll just go to the deep end and move into the ashram. So I moved into the ashram, and the first thing they taught us was that whenever you meet any devotee, regardless whether they are initiated or not initiated, you see a tilak on their forehead, he or she is a devotee. With folded hands, say, Jai Prabhu, please accept my obeisances. Then you fell on the floor and you recite the prayer of offering our obeisances. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha, kripa sindhubhyascha, patitana pavanebhyo, vaishnavyo namo namaha. And that was taught to us. So we were walking around, and of course, you know, Manor is a very big building, and at that time when I joined, we had about 85 devotees, residents in the ashram. And every time you walk around the corner, you meet a devotee, So in the space of 1 hour, you meet like 20, 30 devotees. So you're going on the floor, Jai Vancha kalpatrubhyascha, Vancha kalpatrubhyascha, Vancha kalpatrubhyascha. You keep paying obeisances. You know. And I think it's very healthy also, because nowadays if you keep down, up and down, it is called a yoga practice. You know, you exercise your body also and become healthy. But more than that, you actually develop this mood of showing respect to the devotees. And when you start showing respect to the devotees, automatically Krishna becomes pleased with you. Because Krishna is saying that you are showing so much respect and honor for my devotees. So therefore, you are worthy to come to me. So then Krishna allows us to come and serve him. Then whatever little service we render to Krishna, he will readily accept that, because he sees that the mood is correct. So in this verse here is describing that is the first qualification for us to become a devotee. Not that, you know, we come to the ashram and then we are introduced to the practice of Krishna consciousness, and we are slowly, gradually we start chanting the holy name on our japa mala. After that, you know, we are introduced to a little more stricter. We have to follow regulative principles, and then get up very early in the morning, come for Mangalarati, and then after Mangalarati, Tulsi Puja, then Japa, then Guru Puja, class, Prasadam, and then after Prasadam, you are engaged in different services, whether you are doing temple service or doing Sankirtan service, and you just engage till you come back in the evening, and then again in the evening, you take a quick shower, and come for Gorati. After Gorati, maybe take a light meal, and then maybe Krishna book reading, and then go to sleep, because by that time your body is completely exhausted. Now if your body is not exhausted by that time, that means basically you haven't engaged yourself in service. Because for a devotee, every moment is thinking how I can serve. We should not use our time for just wasting away, because every moment is very precious. And every moment we are given, there is another opportunity to render service to Krishna. And if you don't have any particular service given to you by the temple, then it's okay. You create your own service. And if there is no physical service, then you have this. You just put your hand in the japa mala and start chanting Hare Krishna. Because chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also a devotional service. So if you don't have any other physical service, then you chant Hare Krishna. But I see nowadays the trend is that you have a very nice bead bag with very decorative counting beads here, and you have a number 16 here, and you go around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last bead goes down, and you go. I have done my 16 rounds for the day. I have done my deed, so it's finished. But it's not finished. One time, one devotee, so he got up very early in the morning, around 2:30, took a quick shower, everything, get ready, was chanting his japa. And he finished his japa, all 16 rounds before Mangalarati. So he was so pleased that, oh, I have chanted all my rounds before Mangalarati. After Mangalarati, he went to Srila Prabhupada. He said, Srila Prabhupada, today I finished all my rounds before Mangalarati. And Prabhupada said, so, chant more. Now he was expecting the Prabhupada would say, oh, very nice, well done, and maybe some blessings and appreciation that you have done your rounds before Mangalarati. But Prabhupada says, so, chant more. So of course, chanting is never ending. 16 rounds is just, Prabhupada says, minimum. So unless until we have developed taste for something we like, then we'll never get tired of doing it. But if you get tired of chanting 16 rounds, then we haven't developed taste for the holy name. And then service to the Lord is also, we are eager, waiting that when will I get next to dress the Lord, when will I get next opportunity to cook for the Lord, when will I get opportunity to offer arti to the Lord. You're eagerly waiting for it. But like you say, oh, today is my turn to offer Raj Bhog arti. So look, okay, 12 o'clock. You go ting 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 and offer arti. Okay, blow the conch, finish and walk away. Yeah. But that's just kind of ritual. But when you are offering service, whether it's cooking, dressing, arti, or chanting, or going out for preaching, it should be done with eagerness and pleasure. If you don't get pleasure in that, that means that you haven't actually developed a taste for the transcendental devotional service. And this is what's explaining here by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatana Goswami, that this is the secret to develop the highest goal. And that is what life's ultimate goal is, to become fully absorbed in Krishna without any say tiredness of it, or saying, well, I've been doing for so long, I've done enough. It's never enough. Right till the last breath, we continue. And we see this very much in our Srila Prabhupada, that he showed by his own example, that in the last moments, in 1977, in the month of November, on the 15th of November, he was there on his bed, and his last moments. But what was he saying before that? Bring the dictaphone. And they would bring dictaphone to his mouth, and then he would tell one of his devotees, read the Sanskrit. He was trained. So he would read the Sanskrit in the continuation of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Prabhupada would translate. Even at that moment, Prabhupada is not saying, well, I'm an old man, my body is all finished, I'm dying now. I'm not going to do anymore, I'm just going to peacefully die. No. He was showing us by his own example that last breath, you engage in the service of the Lord. Whatever energy we have, we just pump it into serving Krishna. And he must come to us, if he cannot do any physical service, at least we can chant his holy name. And even if sometimes we are in that certain disposition that we can't even chant, then think about it, because the brain is still functioning. The other day, someone sent me what happens to a person when dies. They say when a person is dying, the first thing happens is the chakras in the feet begin to move up, to the kundalini, come to the head. And if you are, as Bhagavad Gita also describes, that if you are perfected in your life as a devotional practice and perfection of your life as a human being, then finally the chakra in the head will open up and the soul will leave. And then the transcendental chariots are waiting there with all the Vishnu-dutas, with all the musical instruments, and will take you to Goloka. Otherwise, you go to another woman's womb, take birth again as an insect, as an animal, as a human being, and start all over again. But the point is that the chakra comes all the way up. And the last one, which is off in the body, is the mind or the brain. So even if your rest of the body is switched off, brain is still on. And this is where we can compute of remembering the Lord. You see, even now, if you want to remember something, you have to remember through your memory. Otherwise, if the memory is not there and you try to remember something, you can't remember. So memory is still functioning till the last moment. So if you are trained in thinking of Krishna 24/7, then automatically you will think of Krishna. And of course Krishna says that when you prepare your life in such a way of devotional life all through your life, at the time of death, automatically you will remember him. And when you remember him, Krishna says, surely you will come to me. And that is perfection of our goal. So, if you do not develop this taste for chanting and serving Krishna, then you may be in the devotional practice for 50 years, it is just waste of time, because you are not actually making progress. All you have done is you are aged. And age, whether you are a devotee or you are a non-devotee, you will still age. Devotees are getting old, karmis are also getting old. Animals are also getting old. And animals have no concept of God, but they are also getting old. So, old age is nothing to be proud of. But when we are aging, that aging should come with deeper and deeper connection with Krishna, and we should be so much connected with Krishna to the point that we cannot live even for a moment without Krishna. I will not judge anyone, but I can judge myself, because then there is no criticism of my, to make my own critique. So I sometimes also fall into this trap, although I try to consciously practice of remembering Krishna in every moment, but many times I just forget Krishna. I'm thinking about anything under the sun, but not Krishna. So if you're not thinking of Krishna, then you're not preparing yourself. So constantly we have to see Krishna in everything, in every aspect. It's just like I mentioned yesterday, that in the material world, the advertising world is such that they advertise so many things that automatically they put these images in your mind, that when you see something, immediately you think of those things. Like yesterday, as I mentioned, you look at a product, and just by the name of the product, you know what the product is. You start thinking about the product. So immediately we train ourselves. So all our life, our practice is first, is the first step is that we have to take attachment to chanting the holy name, because that is the first principle. And we begin to chant Hare Krishna. Then by chanting the holy name, the process of Sravanam and Kirtanam, Smaranam will come automatically. Whatever you are hearing, whatever you are chanting, you'll remember. Now if you are not remembering the holy name, then what you will speak is what you are hearing. And what you are hearing is nonsense, then nonsense will be coming out of your mouth. And what you will remember? All these things which is nothing to do with Krishna. So this practice is there, very, very important. And this is not taught to us, not by the scriptures, but even the great devotee of the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj, at the age of 5, he's telling us, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And so as a young boy, he's teaching us that this is the fundamental principle of bhakti. And then of course, Prabhupada, in the same line of the Parampara line, is giving us the same principle of chanting the holy name. And it is so important that we don't take this chanting of Hare Krishna lightly, because this is the real essence which will then bring us to the next level up. And this next level up means that the heart, as I said, will come soften. And when the heart is softened, then you will actually relish, as it is mentioned in the beginning of the Parpada, Nam Amrita. And in the English, Prabhupada translating as the ambrosia of the holy name. Ambrosia means nectarian, very sweet. So when we are going Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the tongue is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. The ear is hearing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. The memory is remembering the holy name. But are you getting the taste? The sweetness? If you're not getting the sweetness, then what happens? Of course, I'm not saying the sweetness which we have in the material world, which is, what we call sugar. That you have some sweet with lots of sugar in it, and you put it on your mouth, and the tongue releases the sweetness. And you're saying, well, this is sweetness. Now they're saying the holy name is sweet. So then you're going Hare Krishna, and then you don't taste the same sugary sweetness on your tongue. You begin to wonder, when will that taste come? But the sweetness of the holy name is not the sweetness what we know. Just like earlier I mentioned, that just like the concept of love, what we know in material world, is basically lust, it's not love. So, similarly, the concept of sweetness which we understand in material world is a different sweetness than the sweetness of the holy name, sweetness of serving the Lord. It is actually developing that eagerness that you cannot live without that. So when you come to that stage, then that means that you are actually relishing the sweetness of the holy name. That is the nectarian holy name. Of course, English language or any other language, for example, which we have created for communication, is not suffice to explain the depth of the emotions, feelings. We can give some kind of roundabout description of your emotion, but really, when you have an emotion, an emotional experience of either happiness or sadness, you cannot put it in words. Just like, for example, given that the joy of a newborn baby, when the mother is going through labor, and she's going through intense pain, and when the child emerges from the womb, and the nurse cleans the child, and then wraps in a little cotton cloth, and hands it to the mother, saying, it's a beautiful baby, and the mother goes, wow, big smile, and she's experienced so much love and joy for the child. Now, for 9 months, it was a burden to carry in the womb. And those who have experienced motherhood would know that it is not a very easy experience. But still, the joy is immense. So that emotion, you cannot put it down on a piece of paper and write down what is the emotion or the experience. You can try and put it in some mundane words, but it won't be the real thing. So, same with the experience of relishing the holy name, relishing the devotional service, the aspect of connecting with Krishna. It just comes, and one develops that so much that you cannot live without it. All great saintly persons are so absorbed in this that they cannot live without it. Even if they are living in some extreme conditions, they will not be concerned with that, because they are so absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, in remembering Krishna, in relishing the very beautiful pastimes of the Lord in the mind, in the heart. Just like this description given, the Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, when they went to Vrindavan, on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they didn't have any guest house or any development there. It was just Vrindavan. Vrindavan means Tulsi, and one means forest. It was just forest. Everyone was just forest and forest and forest. And what do you find in forest? Birds, bees, animals, and different trees giving different flowers, some different fragrance, some fruits, but no modern amenities there. And then, of course, I don't know if you have been to Vrindavan in the month of May or June. It is 45, 50 degree temperature. It's hot like anything. And Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were sitting there under a tree and so absorbed in Krishna that the temperature of 45, 50 degrees won't matter to them. And even in that heat, they're thinking about, so much about what pastimes they're going to write in their writings. They're so engaged that they even forget to eat. Now, you and I, we are fasting on a half-day fast, and it's like, oh God, when will it 12 o'clock? And 12 o'clock, oh, half-day fast is done, but we have to wait for the offering to come out. And we have to wait for this, that, and then finally at 2 o'clock, we say, okay, feast is served, and oh God, half-day fast became 2 o'clock, We can't wait to just go and eat. But when you are in that state of pure devotional service to the Lord, you're so much engaged in thinking of the Lord that the physical requirement of the body sustenance is meaningless. So of course I'm not saying that we should practice artificially, that's the first thing I said. They should come natural. If you try to do artificially, then it will be like Prabhupada says, Markat Vairagya. Markat means monkey. So a monkey is sitting on a tree and is so renounced, he doesn't wear any clothes. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have anything. But he's sitting on the tree, and then 1 second he's on this branch and his eyes goes there. Oh, that branch is better. So he'll jump from this branch to that branch, and from here to here, from here to here. And the monkey will be just jumping all over the place, never satisfied. Although monkey is more renounced than anyone. So, when we practice renunciation, it should come natural. If you try to do something artificially, then it won't have the desired effect. So, for example, say, okay, you're going to make a strict vow that you're only going to eat once a day in the month of Kartik. So, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But then, all day long you're thinking of something to eat because the pangs of hunger is there. Then even though you don't eat, but your mind is eating all the time. So the effect of that fasting doesn't take place. So better you eat 2 times, 3 times, and not meditate on that. So then, if you're not meditating on that concept of eating, then naturally you will engage in better Krishna service of chanting and serving and doing whatever service you are rendering. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we have to focus in such a way that things gradually come naturally. And then at some stage, we will minimize all our eating and our sleeping. It will come. Prabhupada one time was telling to his disciples, you see, I am now given up sleeping almost. Because Prabhupada could not sleep because, not that he had insomnia, he was so thinking, I have to translate. So he's translating books, 2 o'clock in the morning he's writing, translating. And then later on, he would go for Mangalati and then give class to the devotees, and different programs he has to go to, then come back, and then again write. And Prabhupada is so focused. So, when you are completely focused in the principle of devotional service, then all the material requirements automatically becomes minimized. So we have to practice this by concentrating. And every time we do anything, we should think, is this for Krishna? Am I doing this for Krishna? Or am I doing for myself? Because generally, I would say that most of us, me including, think, okay, I've come to Krishna consciousness. Why? Because I want to go back to Godhead. I want to be free from this material suffering. I want to be free from repeated birth and death. So I've come to Krishna consciousness. Then I come to Krishna consciousness, I follow the principles of Krishna conscious bhakti, of chanting and serving and doing all these things. Why? Because I want to go back to Godhead. Now, what is the description given in the scriptures about devotional service? Prabhupada gives a definition of devotional service. Devotional service is pure, unalloyed, uncontaminated, unmotivated. But here, I have a motivation. I want to go back to Godhead. And therefore, I'm doing all these things. So, your devotional service is not devotional service. It is motivated service. Because you may do all this aspect of bhakti for the purpose that I want to go back to Godhead. But Prabhupada says very clearly that one who understands the essence and teachings of Lord Krishna, they will know that to take shelter of Krishna, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, Sarva dharmam parijata, mamekam sharanam aham tam sarva pape. I'll free you from everything. When? Mamekam sharanam. But when you do mamekam sharanam, aham tam sarva pape, sarva dharma parijata. So when it is mentioned sarva dharma, think what is dharma? So we think is give up Christianity, give up Hinduism, give up Islamism, give up this. No, dharma is not a religion. Dharma is give up all occupations. Because that is what Prabhupada describes. The dharma means is your eternal occupation or conditioned occupation. So we have so many occupations we are doing. Give up everything. And when you give up all these occupations, then what is our only occupation left? Jivere Sarabhaya, Nitya Krishna. Eternally we are servant of Krishna, and that is our occupation. Serving Krishna 24/7. So when you come to that platform, then you are now rightly situated in the right mood. And Prabhupada says, when we take this shelter of Krishna, Mamekam Sharanam, when we do the Ahamtam Sarva Papi, Sarva Dharma Parijata business, then Mamekam Sharanam takes place. Take shelter of the Supreme Lord only. Then Krishna says, I'll free you from everything. Ahamtam Sarva Papi, I'll free you from all anxieties. Don't worry about it. I will take care of you. So when we come to that platform, then Prabhupada says, the liberation or moksha is like this, waiting for you, eagerly. And what does the devotee say? Don't worry about it now. I don't want moksha now. I am busy serving Krishna. So even moksha comes, you will discard moksha. Disregard that, no, I don't want it. I just want to serve Krishna. So then when you're serving Krishna, and Krishna says, okay, now you have got right mood, I will give you liberation. And you go back to God in any way. So we don't have to desire or do it with that motivation. So when we are chanting the holy name, which is our basic principle of bhakti, we should always think, is my chanting pleasing Krishna? And when you develop that mood, then automatically when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're thinking, okay, I'm chanting this not for my purification. Because my purification is as a byproduct of chanting the holy name. So when we are chanting the holy name, we should think, I want to do this for the pleasure of Krishna. Because ultimately when we do devotional service, it is all meant for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, to please the Supreme Lord. So every aspect of what we do, is this pleasing to the Supreme Lord? Then automatically we train our mind to think that whatever I do, it must be pleasing to Krishna. I don't care whether it pleases me or not. But then Krishna is so kind that as a byproduct, he gives you the pleasure also. That you don't, he doesn't deprive you of that. But we don't look forward to that. It just comes naturally. So our consciousness should be developed in such a way that when we begin to perform any act of devotional service, should first and foremost think, is this going to be pleasing to Krishna? And if not, how can I do this that it will be pleasing to Krishna? And if we don't know ourselves, then we ask someone who is properly situated. And sometimes we say that how do we know if Krishna is pleased with my activities? Then Prabhupada said, if the spiritual master is pleased with your activity, then you know Krishna is pleased with you. Because the spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. And therefore, if he is pleased, then Krishna is automatically going to be pleased. Because that is our first point of contact, is the spiritual master. So we try to serve the spiritual master, to please the spiritual master. And what is the spiritual master thinking? Oh yes, I am the spiritual master. Come, serve me. Cook for me, clean my quarters, do my laundry, do this for me, do that for me. No, spiritual master doesn't do that. What does spiritual master do? He engages his disciple in the service of Radha and Krishna. Every morning during Mangalarti, what do we sing? So, what does the spiritual master do? He is very eagerly engaging his disciples in the service of Radha and Krishna. When they are engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna, the spiritual master becomes pleased. So of course, spiritual master is not thinking that, okay, now that I am sitting on a high seat and I am a spiritual master, so come, serve me. And then if I am pleased, then you are doing good. No. The spiritual master becomes pleased when you are rendering service nicely, you are following the principles of bhakti nicely. That is pleasing to the spiritual master. Not superficial service which is okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But actually pleasing to the spiritual master is that we engage according to his instructions, because he is the one who is giving us guidance and instruction to engage properly in the service of bhakti and devotional service. So this whole process of bhakti is such unique, and everything is so perfect that if you follow it nicely, then we will be situated perfectly in our devotional practices. And every day will be very, very joyous. And eagerly when we wake up in the morning, we say, oh God, I went terrible last night, and I'm tired, yesterday was a very busy day, so maybe I will sleep in a little longer. No, you are so eager that you jump out of your bed and say, okay, I'm up, let me do another day of service, chanting and worshipping the Lord and going out and distributing books, preaching to people, convincing people, please come, take shelter of Krishna, and so many services there. And then when you develop that eagerness, then you understand that this process is working properly. Otherwise, you're going through the motions of the bhakti process, but you're not relishing it. And if you don't relish, then you're losing out here. So we have enough time the Lord has given us individually that we take every moment for serving Krishna. Every waking moment we serve Krishna. Every sleeping moment we serve Krishna. How we serve Krishna in sleeping moment? If you think about Krishna when you're sleeping, then automatically you think about Krishna. I still remember in the early days when we joined, we would be, lights out at 9:30. So just before 9:30, we are all laid our sleeping bags down in our room, and one devotee would pick up a Krishna book and he would read Krishna book. And while we are lying down, hearing Krishna book. And then because all day we've been working so hard, we are so tired that halfway, before the Krishna book is finished reading, we are already sleeping. And because when you're sleeping, you're hearing Krishna book, then you hear one of the pastimes of Krishna while just preparing to sleep, your mind is still remembering that pastime. And all through the night, you'll dream about Vrindavan, Krishna chasing one of the demons, or running around with the coward boys, or running around in the groves of Vrindavan with the gopis and having a nice dance experience. And this is what you'll think about. And when you think about, so you still think about Krishna. So it's this question of training ourselves. Otherwise, you may think about everything under the sun, and when you go to sleep, that is what you'll remember. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're so exhausted because the mind was working extra hard. Well, the physical body was not working, but the mind was. And everything comes from the mind. So we have to train the mind properly, and we'll be successful in our practice, and we'll be joyous in Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here. If anybody has any comments, any questions, feel free.
I would like to ask.
Yes.
I want to ask that, for instance, me personally, I do feel. Hare Krishna. That personally, I do feel pleasure from serving Krishna, but I do feel tired. I mean, it's not something that. And I sometimes feel that if I get rest more and I think about it, then maybe I will serve also better. And also sometimes I get disappointed also in devotees. Sometimes, not generally, but some people, But still, you have to develop compassion and just because I get disappointed, that doesn't mean that I don't have respect towards the devotees. But sometimes it's difficult to be around certain people, and I don't mean it disrespectfully. It's just because so sometimes I don't understand how to function because we should be selfless, but in a way also, I don't know. Should we just forget about ourselves in service, or there's certain?
It's not a question. We have to be practical. See, this is, after all, we have a physical body, yeah, and the physical body has its limitations. So if you don't get enough rest, then obviously you'll be tired. So of course, we plan our day in such a way that we get enough rest, and then that way, we can engage in service nicely. Like I remember in the early days, devotees would not take enough rest because they say, I have to do service. So they get ready in the morning, load up the car, the books, and then go out for Sankirtan. But they're so tired, they're driving and they fall asleep. So what happens now? They get into an accident. So better to take good rest and then go out and do service properly. So we have to be intelligent enough to know limits of what our capacity is individually. See, you know yourself. I know myself. I know what is my limits. You know what is your limits. So we look at our own situation and figure out what is my requirement. But if you say, I get tired all day long, so you like sleep, like 15, 20 hours a day, and that is not rest. Generally, if you are properly fit and healthy person, 6 to 8 hours of sleep is enough. Okay? But, we have to see individually. Now, if I say 6 hours, doesn't mean that everybody has to take 6 hours. 6 hours may be enough for me. Someone may be 8 hours. Then someone will say, no, it's 5 hours. So, but see, that is for that person. So there's a saying in English, one man's food is another man's poison. So what may be good for me may not be good for you. So you know yourself, so you have to judge yourself best. And if you are sincere in your heart, then you will do your best to engage yourself in such a way that you do justice to yourself and the service you are rendering. Because you have to be honest. And you can only be honest to yourself. You can't be honest to me. And I cannot be honest to you. I have to be honest to myself. Because at the end of the day, the Paramatma is my heart and he is looking at me, whether I'm trying to cheat him or I'm not cheating him. You see? I may cheat the whole world, but I cannot cheat Paramatma. So basically, we have to see our physical limits. Individual has a capacity. So we just see what is our capacity as individuals. Then, as far as being disappointed with other devotees, we have to develop this, this particular verse is saying, that we have to develop a compassionate, soft heart. And if someone is, acting in such a way is kind of disappointing, then you will think that person is going through some difficulty. So you show compassion and approach the person, say, do you need any help? Is there any way I can help you? But you say, I'm doing mopping here and that person is not mopping there, they're supposed to do that. And I'm doing my service nicely, why that person not doing that? So then you get disappointed. But that person may be genuinely having some difficulty. So, we go and help them. Because helping another devotee also in that difficult situation or difficult time they're having, that is also compassion. But just by showing disappointment in them, it's neither helping you or them. So we should not be disappointed with anything. Basically, this whole material world is a disappointment. This whole material world is a disappointment. So you are never going to be satisfied in this material world. But we make the best as they say, make a best use, a good use of a worst bargain. This is a very bad bargain, material world. The material body itself is a bad bargain. It is full of, so undesirable things. But this is what we have been given. So we say, Krishna, okay, this is what you have given me. I will take it in the right spirit, but I can improve it by your mercy. So we take Krishna's mercy and then he will help us. Because Krishna is not going to make life difficult for us. Because every time I say that Krishna is our best well-wisher. He's concerned for our well-being more than we are concerned for our own well-being. So Krishna is never going to put his devotee into any difficult situation. But he will help us as we approach him. And there's a saying, God helps he who helps himself. So we have to help ourselves for God to help us. So we have to see that we never get disappointed with anyone. Because my experience now in all these years, I've learned that this material world is one big disappointment. Although people are in the world out there advertising, come, this is most wonderful world, this is best place to enjoy, and there's this best holiday brochure comes out saying this is the most sandy beaches and you get nice nightclubs here, this and that, and so many things are enticing you, come and enjoy, but there is no enjoyment. Now I'll give you one very nice experience I had. When I was preaching in America, so I was in Flagstaff, which is in New Mexico. So then next day I had to go to Las Vegas. Because through Las Vegas, then I go into Los Angeles side, in California. So I was driving from Flagstaff, and as I was approaching, it was evening. As evening time, I came near the Hoover Dam. And then crossing the Hoover Dam, far in the distance, you see these lights flashing. And it's night time, but lights flashing like sunrise. I was saying, it's amazing scenery. As I was getting closer and closer, and I'm entering into Las Vegas now. As I was entering Las Vegas, it's lit up all with these, fancy billboards, advertising different casinos and nightclubs. Come, enjoy. And as I'm driving, I said, my God, this is really the planet of Maya, because every possible aspect of sense enjoyment is available in Las Vegas. Then finally, I said, okay, I got to get out of here. So I went and found a motel which was owned by an Indian guy. So I said, look, I need a room for tonight. He said, okay, no problem. So he gave me a free room in his motel. And then next morning, lights were switched off now because it's daytime. And I was thinking, this place is inviting everybody, come, enjoy. And when they come to enjoy, what happens? They lose all their money. They work hard to earn their money and lose. Even to the extent that in Los Angeles airport, there are certain planes which give you a free ride to Las Vegas. So you just go there, they'll give you a free pass, you go on the plane, and they take you to Las Vegas. Now when you come to Las Vegas, what are you going to do? Hotels, you got to pay. Food, you have to pay. Then you go to casinos, gambling, you have to pay. Everywhere you have to pay. So all the money you go, you spend money there. And then finally you say, oh, now time to go back to home. You go to the airport, buy a ticket. So they bring you free, but then they take all your money. And then they take all your money, you're so disappointed. Because they think, come, enjoy. You invest $1 in this machine and you'll get 1 million. So the guy is sitting there with one of these machines. They keep putting $1, hoping they're going to get 1 million. But if the casinos are going to give away money, it's a very bad business plan. Because no business runs giving away. They want to make profit. So anyway, the point is that this world is like that. Saying, come, enjoy. Take away every last drop from your body. And then you get disappointed. But Krishna will never disappoint you, because you give your last drop of blood to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate with you. And he will never disappoint you. But because our expectations are based on material things, therefore we get disappointed. So as far as my answer to your question is, don't get disappointed with anything. Because all around you look is disappointment. So you have to look for positive things in everything. There is good in everything. And one example I give is that on a nice summer day, there's a beautiful rose bush. It's growing, blooming with all green leaves, and all the roses are full blossom. Now there's two ways of looking at that. You can look at the rose bush and say, wow, so beautiful roses are growing in the thorns. Or you can look negatively and say, so many thorns are growing in the rose. So you don't look at the rose, but look at the thorns. On the other way of looking positively, you don't look at the thorns, you look at the rose. So if you look at the rose, then the thorns will be not important. But if you look at the thorns, then thorns become more important than the rose, which is the essence. So you lose the beauty of the rose and you look at the thorns, which is very painful. So don't look at negatively in anything. Try to see positive in every aspect, every person, We are all full of good and bad qualities. So don't look at the bad things, look at the good things. When you look at the good things, then bad things have no meaning. So, there is no disappointment in anything. You just accept that, yes, this is Krishna's grace. Whatever comes your way, say, yes, this is what I deserve. So you just take it in a good spirit. Then in a positive spirit, you will never have negativity. So you will never get disappointed in any aspect. As I said, if you find some disappointment in some devotee, then that person may be going through some difficulty. So you try and speak to them nicely and say, is there anything I can do for you? Can I help you? And then just try to help. And that way you are serving Vaishnavas. And Vaishnava service is also greatly appreciated by Krishna. So then we are happy people, and we live our life happily till the last breath, and then we go home without any difficulty. Okay? Alright, Hare Krishna. So it's 9 o'clock, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Hari 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 Gaur.
Atmanivedana Maharaj ki jai.
Oh, dat is niet meer wat die.
Dat is Swiss Nats met de melodisch. Zo. Dat style of this kind of dressing
Swiss, it's not a problem. Whenever modify them also. It's like Manipur, with that Manipur dress for Radharani. And now it is tradition, Vrindavan and Mayapur, and Sitakroghav, they wear offer Manipur dress.
The background also is of course it's put in the we see the Gopas Vrindavan style.
Very nice. The thing is that we have invited a lot of Swiss people. Okay. Oh. So today I'm free until lunchtime will be Swiss class. Okay. I will say it's tummy class. 4 o'clock. So no problem. Yes, upstairs.
Ну, так что поддержать своим присутствием хотя бы, как массовка.
Как что?
Массовка.
Массовка.
А то, кстати, много людей.
Thank you.